Good morning. Welcome to Thriving Talks to Anthony. Today we're going to be having an essential conversation. For those that are new to the channel, we make mental health conversations and content that's going to be beneficial to your mental health and your personal development, right? But in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about how to embrace imperfection, the beauty of being human. We have to be able to love our authentic self and embrace imperfection to be able to, get to that self-actualization of who we are and embracing who we are, right? So this is going to be able to help viewers, embrace imperfection, their authentic selves, and letting go of unrealistic expectations and perfection of, all those things that affect us, right? So let's just move right into the video, into the introduction, right? So what is imperfection? The definition of imperfection is not a flaw, but essential part of human experience. Once again, this is, in a world that's consistently pushing us towards perfection, consistently spiraling and moving, the truth is imperfection is what makes us human, right? As we navigate, right? So just making sure that we're embracing our flaws that lead to the self-acceptance of greater self-acceptance, joy, and peace, right? So like I said, an imperfection is not a flaw. It is an essential part of our human experience. Moving forward, in regards to key points, are going to be common misconceptions, right? So perfection is not a realistic or healthy standards to strive for, right? So it's just, those are some misconceptions in regards to perfectionism. Moving forward, perfectionism impact, right? So the stress that is tied to it, the anxiety that's tied to it, the self-criticism that's tied to it, in regards to that self-sabotage that affects us and how we operate. Trying to be perfect often leads to burnout and dissatisfaction, leading us tore up from the floor up. So we have to be able to recognize that the impact of perfectionism, and like I said, that stress, anxiety, and that self-sabotage as we're being very critical on ourselves. Moving forward to some research insights from Dr. Brene Brown, a leading researcher in the field of vulnerability, embracing imperfectionism, and cultivate greater courage, compassion, and connection with others, right? So when we're able to love ourselves, embrace ourselves, we're able to, like I said, love ourselves at the highest, and then be able to connect with others at a high level as well. Moving forward in regards to the next segment, we're going to be talking about the pressure to be perfect. Like I said, in a world that's always pushing us, we're competing with other people. People have this, you may want that. The world often tells us what we need, right? Or to look a certain type of way, achieving a certain success, or to perform at a specific level, to be good enough, right? What does this cost us? We got to be able to take that in consideration. The world has its own expectations, but we need to have our own expectations of what we want and embracing who we are, right? So some key points I want to dive into is going to be the myth of perfectionism, right? So social media, advertising, social standards that create unrealistic expectations. Like I said, this is someone else's expectations. We have to have our own. Moving forward is going to be the pressure to perform, right? So from school to work to our professional and our personal relationships, perfectionism often, is in every area of life. We're trying to make sure that we can be the best, do the best, perform the best. And like I said, those expectations lie within ourselves, but we have to realize that these pressures affect us in different areas of our life. When it comes to some research from the psychology of popular media, found that exposure to idolizing images on social media directly contributes to feelings of inadequacy and fear of not being good enough, right? So when we're comparing ourselves to other people, we're not being grateful and having that gratitude for ourselves and where we're at. We're gonna be inadequate. We're gonna be tore up from the floor up and dealing with that consciousness of anxiety, stress, and even depressed if we're not aware of what's going on, right? So moving forward is going to be the cost of perfectionism, which is significant, right? So chasing perfectionism can lead to emotional and physical exhaustion, right? That burnout. In this segment, we're going to talk about how this is going to be able to, affect us and that hidden toll of perfectionism in our well-being, right? So I want to be able to take into consideration that when we're not being conscientious and we're falling into society's means, the world's means, and comparing ourselves to what other people got going on, this is really going to take a toll on us and affect our mental wellness. So a key point I want to dive into is that mental health impact, which is very important, right? Our operating system, our mind, our body, that brain. So perfectionism often leads to anxiety, depression, and self-doubt, as we talked about before. So like I said, we got to be aware of our thoughts, the self-criticism, that self-sabotage that's really affecting us, right? And just like I said, embracing who we are. Look at yourself in the mirror, embracing every, wrinkle, whatever it may be for you, or, the acne, whatever it may be, like embracing just what it is, right? And we also got to take in consideration that we can improve at any given moment. Next is going to be physical symptoms, right? So this involves fatigue, stress, and that burnout, as we mentioned before. We also have behavioral effects such as procrastination, avoidance, and self-criticism, right? So if you're realizing some of these behaviors that are taking a toll on you, right, you want to advocate, seek that proper support, and even journal to be able to kind of document and really get some real insights tracking, these emotions and these effects that are impacting your life. So when it comes to some research insights from the American Psychological Association in 2021, reports that high levels of perfectionism are linked to increased risks of anxiety and depression, right? So this is serious, this is significant, and this is really something that's going to impact your wellness, your well-being, and how you're operating and performing in different areas of your life, right? So making sure that we're taking consideration of perfectionism and how it is impacting our lives. Moving forward, we're going to be talking about embracing imperfectionism, right? So the key is to heal in our own lives, right? By accepting ourselves and who we are, right? So not comparing ourselves to other people, not comparing ourselves to other people got going on, but really, like I said, just taking consideration of who we are, where we're at, and what we got going on, and that self-acceptance, right? So just jumping off at our first key point is going to be self-acceptance. So letting go of the self-criticism, that self-sabotage, and letting go of all that negativity and those negative thought patterns in the mind, and just really accepting our own flaws as part of who we are, right? For many people that are successful, they will tell you, and there's also videos and all the stuff like that got going on out there, but there's many failures in order for them to get where they're at, right? So we got to really take in consideration that, in order for us to get where we want to be and become our best selves, we got to be able to take in consideration of the flaws and the failures in order for us to have that self-acceptance, right? We got to really love ourselves. Next is going to be the beauty of imperfectionism, right? So how flaws often lead to deeper connections with others and more authentic experiences, right? So when we're navigating through life, when we're going through different failures and flaws and these different things, you're going to realize growth, right? Pressure makes diamonds, right? And life ain't sweet. Life is not candy in my analogy I give people, but we really got to embrace, like I said, the beauty of imperfectionism, because it brings us to the beauty of, those authentic experiences, deeper connections, and really giving us self-actualization of who we really are, right? In that character. You navigating through, like I said, pressure makes what? Diamonds. Moving forward, we're going to be talking about the mindfulness of self-compassion, right? So when we're practicing this, it's going to be able to help us, be kind to ourselves, breaking the patterns of that self-sabotage, stop, striving for the unattainable ideals and stuff like that. We're going to really try to really just focus on what we got going on and what ways we can navigate to get to where we want to be. In regards to some research insights, we're going to be talking about a study in 2019 in regards to the mindfulness found that individuals who practice self-compassion and mindfulness were more likely to experience lower levels of anxiety and greater overall happiness, right? So when we're able to embrace ourselves, be kind to ourselves, love ourselves personally, right? We're doing this stuff for ourselves, right? No one else, but just really focused on our life, what we got going on, and keeping this practice going on. We're going to really be able to reduce that anxiety and be able to have overall happiness for our mental health and our well-being. This is significant, right? This is significant. Moving on to our next segment, we're going to be talking about practical strategies for embracing imperfectionism, right? So we talked about the toll it takes. We talked about, criticism and how embracing imperfectionism helps us out and reduces that anxiety. Now we're talking about practical steps and, apply them as needed, right? So first key point, we're going to be talking about practice self-compassion, which is essential. Like I said, being kind to yourself, loving yourself, putting yourself first, right? So be kind to yourself when you make mistakes, right? When you fall down, get back up, love yourself, tell yourself you can do it again, right? Next is going to be mindfulness and acceptance, right? So learning to be present in that moment, accepting the moment without any judgment, is really just being present, letting things flow, being conscientious, breathing, and just really enjoying the moment and just being mindfulness, right? Next is going to be letting go of the need for control, right? A lot of us feel as if that when we're in different rooms, environments, working spaces, or just interacting with people, we have to be in control about certain things or how they may perceive us or just operating the situation. Let's just flow. Let's just be letting go. Let's just, allow things to unfold naturally instead of forcing perfection, right? So just be free, right? Next is going to be create expression, right? So you want to be able to use creativity as a way to embrace the messy, imperfect process of making, right? So just, when we're just being free, we're just being creative, we're just having that expression. Whatever mistakes happen, right? And just being able to just navigate through. And like I said, this is the growth process. In regards to some research, as I always, drop in my videos, we're going to be talking about, according to the Journal of Personality, engaging in self-compassion, practice and reduce perfectionist tendencies and improve emotional resilience, right? So for those out there that are struggling with perfectionism, for those out there that are hard on themselves, for those out there, I really want to be able to give you the insights of self-compassion, and by being nice to yourself and practicing this routine, could be able to help you navigate through difficulty. Moving forward, we're going to be talking about building a support environment, right? So I always encourage people to have a support system. One man on an island, it's going to be hard for you to survive. Let's just be real, right? I don't want you to have that anxiety, that depression, and stress. And by able to incorporating a support system for yourselves in an environment to be able to help you out for the long run, right? So we all are imperfect. We all need to create a support system, an environment to be able to thrive in, but we also need to maintain our authenticity, loving ourselves throughout that process, right? And by surrounding ourselves with people that are able to embrace our imperfectionism, makes a big part of the difference, right? Because we feel adequate, we feel good, we feel comfortable in these spaces, right? So the first key point I want to talk about is healthy relationships. It's really important for us to build relationships where we feel vulnerability is welcomed, we feel comfortable. It's essential. Next is going to be a community support, which is joining support groups, finding mentors who can encourage authenticity, boost you up, help you really see yourself at the highest light as you're navigating through your own journey. And then some research I want to be able to, bring into this video is going to be from Harvard University's grant study in 2017, the year I graduated high school, right? Showed that strong support relationships are key to long-term happiness and well-being, right? So as we all know, regardless if you're an introvert or an extrovert, you gotta be socializing, you gotta be engaging with different people, and this helps us, have happiness in addition to well-being, right? When we're connecting with other people. I want to be able to just slide into embracing, imperfectionist, in regards to you. Perfection may seem, like a goal. It may seem as if that we want to be able to reach these ideas. But I really want us to make sure that we're taking consideration that, self-acceptance and who we are is important, right? So embracing us is essential because it allows us to have peace within ourselves, our life, our mental health, and other people as we're connecting. If you found this beneficial to yourself and other people, share it, thumbs up. Thank you for thriving me. See you on the next one.